Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
I heard that they are in on Rodon. But then I heard there's something even bigger that they're working on.
How's it going, everybody? Today is December 11th, 2022, and I don't typically do a podcast or a video every time that there's a rumor. If I did, I would never stop doing videos because there's constantly rumors, and a lot of them go nowhere. So in the spirit of the channel name being NYY Recaps, I tend to react to stuff that happens rather than try and comment on things that may or may not happen. I've seen too many things go nowhere. But Michael Kay created a bit of a stir with the comment that you saw in the cold opening, confirming that the Yankees are indeed in on Carlos Rodon. And I think that would be a tremendous move, and I'll post a video to recap that deal and take some fan reactions whenever that happens. I think he would be a splendid addition. But then he said that, according to his sources, which I'll talk about in a minute, the Yankees are working on something that is perceived by the sources to be even bigger.
There's something even bigger that they're working on.
And then he postulates that the only free agent bigger than Carlos Rodon is another Carlos Correa. And this seems to have set Yankees Twitter on fire.
In terms of the free agent market, the only thing bigger than Rodon is Correa.
Everybody's saying, the Yankees are going to get Correa. They're definitely in on Correa. And I just don't buy it. I hate to be the burster of bubbles, and I could be 1,000% wrong, but I think it means the latter half of what he was talking about, a trade.
But then again, it also could be a trade. Maybe they're working on a big trade.
So first things first, let's talk about Michael Kay's potential sources for this. I highly doubt that it is Brian Cashman, because Brian Cashman just doesn't leak. He's too disciplined. He's been doing this job way too long, and he wouldn't want to excite the fan base about the Yankees possibly pulling off a big deal before it happened, because then if it doesn't happen, all you have is backlash and disappointment. So his sources are probably somebody who's around the team, maybe a Carlos Beltran, or somebody who works closely with the front office. But the fact that they haven't said who it is leads me to believe it's probably a trade, because you left Michael Kay, who's notoriously good at deductive reasoning, only one option further than Rodon, Carlos Correa. Now, Carlos Correa is a shortstop. He's one of the best defensive shortstops in Major League Baseball. But the Yankees have two prospects that are right on the cusp, and we saw what Oswald Peraza did last year. He looked good both on defense and on offense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to groom these prospects and bring them up through the system only to sign somebody else to play shortstop when they're finally ready. The Yankees could have signed Carlos Correa last offseason and then used these prospects to try and trade. But the fact that they didn't do that tells me they believe in these prospects. And my eyes tell me that Peraza is a pretty good player. Have not seen much of Volpe yet other than the highlights. Obviously, he looks good in highlights. Everybody looks good in highlights. Just watching his body type, I've said this many times, I think he profiles as a second baseman. And Hal Steinbrenner has said that he's going to go with the kids up the middle in spring training. So I'm choosing to believe all of that evidence over the rumor that the Yankees are going to sign Carlos Correa just because it's perceived as being a bigger move than Rodon. I think a trade is coming. I think it could involve Gleyber Torres, although that's less likely because DJ LeMahieu is coming back from that injury, and you just don't know if he's going to be 100%. There's a chance that he might still have to have surgery, although it's sounding more and more like he's not going to have surgery. But Gleyber Torres seems to be a guy who has a little bit of value. He was a top 10 second baseman in baseball last year, both defensively and offensively. He's got a little bit of value. He doesn't make a ton of money yet, so the Yankees might be able to move him. I haven't read this anywhere, but just speculating. What if Giancarlo Stanton could be moved? Now, he has a full no-trade clause, and before he got traded to the Yankees, he pretty much said the only other place he would play would be the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's where he grew up. The Dodgers have some payroll available. There's the DH in the National League now. You know, the Yankees just locked up Aaron Judge for 9 years. You're going to want to give him more opportunities to rest his legs and take reps at the DH position, especially over the next, 4 to 5 years where Stanton is getting towards the end of his contract. I believe he signed through 2027. So you got to wonder, could the Yankees possibly move Giancarlo Stanton? Let's revisit the Shohei Ohtani thing, too, because I still think that the Angels should move him. Now, I know they've come out and said that they won't trade him, and that makes sense for them to say. But if you think about it from the perspective of a potential buyer, you've got two big potential contracts. Also, Anthony Rendon, it's a huge contract that's been awful. But I'm talking about Mike Trout in center field, and if you re-sign Ohtani, that's a lot of money committed to two players for a new organization. If I'm a potential buyer for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Earth, I would talk to ownership about potentially moving Ohtani before I buy the team. And here's why. I don't want to be faced with the first decision I make as a new owner to be either to hand out the biggest contract in the history of baseball to a player who's 30 years old, or to let one of your marquee players and a unicorn, basically, in Shohei Ohtani, walk as a free agent and be perceived as cheap. It's a lose-lose situation for new ownership. So what the current owners can do is they can deal Ohtani, get a boatload of prospects, and begin the rebuild before the new ownership even gets there. They're not going to be able to move Anthony Rendon's contract, and obviously Mike Trout is the face of the organization. They're not going to move him. So Ohtani might be out of luck. And if I were the Angels, I would try and deal him. Now back to Brian Cashman. He has been known to make trades from out of nowhere. And it wouldn't surprise me if he makes some kind of a 3-team deal or just something completely unexpected. I don't think the move that he's going to make is going to be signing Carlos Correa. I think it's going to be something that nobody's expected, but I do think it's coming. And I think it's going to be impactful because the Yankees, despite re-signing Aaron Judge, really haven't taken any major steps yet other than signing Tommy Kahnle. So it feels like there's something big getting ready to happen, and it might be pretty complex. Stay tuned, and I'll recap it whenever it goes down.
Ball game over.